in a minute or two. I see that our colleagues are joining right now. So perhaps to give additional minute or two for them to join us online, and then we will start. Thank you. Colleagues, again, greetings from New York, and thank you for joining for this third day of the United Nations expert group meeting on the Handbook on Registers-Based Population Housing Censuses. And then, as mentioned yesterday, we will continue with the review of the draft handbook the same way we did in the first 2 days. What I would like just to emphasize by way of the summary, we are halfway through the document itself, and we have so far collected extremely valuable contributions in terms not only on detailed comments and suggestions for the specific paragraphs and the specific chapters of the book, but also very valuable general comments regarding the overall setup for making a transition from a traditional to the registers-based census taking. We certainly noted with how much important it is to further elaborate on the relationship between the administrative sources, the administrative records, the population registers, and the statistical register, and some of it will definitely be much more elaborated in the document based on the contributions that you already made. So, the purpose again today is to go all the way down and finalize with the work on reviewing the text that is in front of us. Yesterday we stopped at subsection 3.2.2, which is on building and dwelling registers, and this covers the paragraphs 57 to 61 of chapter 3. So I am now opening a discussion opening the floor rather for any comments on these 5 paragraphs, sorry. Very well. We are then moving to the next subsection here, which is the on the enterprise or business registers. Helge, is it on the previous one? Please go ahead.
Yes, please, on the previous one. In paragraph 359, it says that in respect of dwelling, that the ownership of or tenure may include information. I think that is rather unusual that the ownership or tenure is part of information about the dwelling. This is not has nothing to do with the physical characteristics or the location of the dwelling. So I think that's right, and may also change more frequently than the size and floor level, etc. So I suggest that this is deleted or said that occasionally or something in some countries.
Thank you. Well, usually in the countries you would have in the cadastre you would have the ownership of the housing unit. The tenure not necessarily. I agree with that, but the ownership definitely would be there. Very well. Thank you. We are taking note. We'll put there a kind of disclaimer. We are back to enterprise or business registers on paras 62 to 66. Any comments on this subsection? I don't see any. We are now moving to the subsection on address registers 3.2.4, and these are paragraphs 67 to 73. And here I am having a comment from Canada, which is specifically on paragraph 370, and the comment is there is only one sentence in this paragraph. However, in countries where comprehensive address lists are either incomplete or non-existent, and the comment says, which means that the combined census approach might be more sensible. Maps created from area very well. So this is just an addition to the explanation below. So this is noted and it is fine. Now, any other comments on this subsection? Helge, I see your hand. Please go ahead.
Thank you. There's a feature that is used in Norway, which is very useful in that the all street names and all the registers are also entered in electronic format. That means that if a name of a street is changed, you don't have to go to and change the address of every single person in the population register, because there's just it's the same number. Sometimes streets names are changed for various reasons, or a street is divided or merged. So I think that's a useful feature that could perhaps be added. Thank you.
Thank you. Note taken. Any other comments on address registers? They are critical, indeed. In many countries, they are not put in place, and if and the purpose of this handbook is actually to provide some kind of guidance to the countries what they need to put in place if they consider transitioning from the traditional census to the registers-based ones. But not only that, the address registers prove to be of critical importance even for during the pandemic, because that the lack of such register made the enumerator's job even much more difficult, and that is why definitely we do have this recommendation here of the usefulness of address registers. Very well. I see no other comments on this piece. On this subsection rather. Then we have only one paragraph 74, which is introduction for specialized or supplementary registers. Any comment on that para 74? And then we have Social Security and pension registers 74. 75 tax registers. I have a comment from Canada here. It is on the second sentence, and the comment reads, for a social acceptability, important to define a strategy to inform the taxpayer universe that their information will be used for census purposes. The information is not less sensitive from their points of view if it comes through administrative sources. Thank you. Very well. Yes, this is very important piece. We are going to add it there. Any other comments on 75? 76, 7, 8, the three para in one go. Employment, education, and health registers. Patrick, please.
Yes, a small question or comment related to the section on the health. in some countries, the health system is not only a public system. You have eventually an important private sector, and including eventually even for the retirement home, for the institutional home for older people and so on, that are eventually private. So my question is, in the context of all these different situations, when it comes to registers, by default, all these private sector type of situations, how easy and realistic is it to have registers that are providing a comprehensive enumeration or list of all this? I think from the public sector, I can easily see it, but from the private sector, I am a little bit concerned that there may be quite a few people missing from, unless there is a central system that really provides this consolidated. But maybe some countries have that experience, and in terms of how the paragraph here is able to cover these different challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. In my experience and to the best of my knowledge, even if you have a private health sector, they should report all of the information to the government-run health sector there, one way or the other. But then your comment is well noted. We will consult with some of the colleagues how it is actually done with WHO and most first definitely, and then we will see how to make sure that this is included in there. Thank you very much. Anything else on 76, 7, and 78? Very well. Then let's move to the subsection. Well, actually, there is a typo here. This is not 366. It is 336. Border control data 79 and 80 paragraphs. Please go ahead. No comments. We are now moving to the subsection 337, which is one para, but it is quite long. And here I do have a comment from Canada, and the comment reads as follows. It is on the second, the register of motor vehicles, and the comment is, and driver licenses, which often include up-to-date information on addresses. Thank you. Yes. All right. Any other comment on this paragraph and the list that we are having here? Helge?
Yes, I would just like to point out that if a country has a comprehensive register covering everybody, both electors, foreign nationals, and prisoners are also part of that register. They may be separate registers of these, but they are also included in the general register.
Which registers again, please? Can you repeat just?
If you have a comprehensive register, prisoners and foreigners and electors are also included in that register. So there's nothing more to be gained from accessing those special registers in a comprehensive, if you have a comprehensive system.
Okay, thank you. I see no other comments on this subsection. Then we are moving to 3.4, which is options if data are not available from administrative sources. And this covers paragraphs 82 to 90. And I have two comments here, and I have it from Chile and from Canada. Canada is on para 384, the first sentence that reads, where such circumstances occur, alternative sources of data might include the use of, and the comment is, census families might be derived from taxation files. Yeah, okay, take good. And then for Chile, the comment is on paragraph 383. And then it says, could include the example of informal workers as they won't be recorded in administrative registers. Yes, this is a very good point. Thank you, Chile. And thank you, Canada. So I have these two. Any other comments on paragraphs 82 to 90? Please go ahead. Helge?
Apologies for asking for the floor again, but in paragraph 386, it is not clear whether what the role of a register census is in collecting data on these goals, sustainable development goals. But I'd like to point out that if you have a good register, you can obtain data on all these 4 goals, A, B, C, D, from administrative registers. Thank you.
Thank you. Hannes, please go ahead.
Maybe it's worth adding in 384 that even though it is possible to get some information from sample surveys, you do lose some ability to correlate some information.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments on these paragraphs, 82 to 90? I don't see any, so let's move to the section 3.5, which is on big data. And this is the last section of chapter number 3. So big data runs from 91 to 98. And here I do have a comment from Canada on the paragraph 396. And the 396, especially the point number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the comment is on 5 and the other one is on 6. So there is usually sometimes significant cost involved with obtaining the data from commercial sources, and the NSO would thus need to assess the cost benefit of doing so. The comment is the computing power required to manage the volume of data is also problematic. Yes. And finally, in order to use such data, and the comment here is combining it to other administrative data might be too much in terms of social acceptability. So this is something to be elaborated further. Thank you very much for bringing this up, Canada. Any other comments? Patrick, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just 2 additional comments. One is more general related to in the context of the handbook, a lot of discussions in previous sections and following sections focus at the unit record level, at the individual unit record level. And in the context of this type of big data, at least a lot of this big data, the information quite often, if it's available, may or may not be available at the unit record level. It may be available only in an aggregated tabular format. So that creates some challenge of how you can use it and eventually combine it or not with your register-based census. And secondly, even if in the scenario where some of these big data may be available at the unit level, in the majority of instances, they are not going to include a personal identifier number that is going to be compatible with the standard PIN number that is used with the other administrative system. So in terms of record linkage, there may be a lot of potential challenges to use this kind of information. And finally, this is in the paragraph 3.96 in the second bullet point section that speaks about use of estimation approaches to produce estimates or multivariate outputs. I think somewhere in that paragraph, you may want to take into account also the issues of coverage and selection biases. The challenge with some of this data is really to assess to what extent they have a comprehensive coverage and if they have also substantial selection bias and how to basically deal with it.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you very much. Can I ask you to be so kind to provide us with the suggested wording to address your last comment on paragraph 96?
Yes, can I send it? Okay.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Helge, please go ahead.
Thank you. It's easy to be fascinated by the potential of big data. I'm also fascinated, but I would like this section to include some examples of possible census tables using big data. There are no examples here. I can think of one, for example, is that data on mobile phones, etc., can be used, and purchase of tickets on public transportation can be used to estimate commuter time or commuter mode, perhaps also between the home and the place of work. That is a possibility, although it will be difficult to track that I'm always using my bicycle to go to work. That will be difficult to get obtained through using big data. But some examples will be useful. Otherwise, this looks too much perhaps like fantasy. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, a good point, definitely. But it is going up. We do have a big data section of the work within the UN Statistics Division, and it is also present at every session of the Statistical Commission. And this is all about the data stewardship, as our colleague from Uruguay, Federico, mentioned. And this really goes well beyond the censuses itself. It goes into many different areas of statistics that is happening as we speak. Patrick, please go ahead.
For the example related to Helge's question, you may want to get in touch with Ronald, our colleague from also Statistics Division, who is involved with this big data initiative, because they are working right now on another handbook related to the use of big data in the context of population estimates. And it includes country-specific examples of applications or use of some of these kind of sources for that purpose. So there may be a one or two interesting example you could eventually build on. Over.
We certainly will do. Thank you very much. Any other? Yes, Sapsanek, please.
Thanks, Sergeant. About the example, maybe we want to somewhere in the manual mention the case of Afghanistan, that they used the remote sensing, a hybrid census. So they use the geospatial information together with a big scale survey. Perhaps that can fit in this part of the manual. And the other point is about the definition of the big data. Perhaps we need to update it because as far as I remember, it's now more than 3 weeks in the paragraph 391.
Thank you. Just a small reaction to mentioning of the Afghanistan and the remote census. We do not actually call it a census at all, not a hybrid census. It is the methodology, the hybrid methodology to assess the population in areas that are not reachable under normal circumstances. The point here is that the census is really providing a list of very valuable variables, and this approach, which is remote sensing, is really giving only the numbers and nothing else. So we are kind of waiting for other national practices that would confirm that this is really something that is widely used, and just singling out one country in that context would not be perhaps very proper at this point of time. But thank you for the definition of big data. Thank you very much. Asul, please.
Thank you very much, Sergeant. Just to add, for the case of Indonesia, in our administrative data, we have a phone number of the individuals, but we face data privacy issues. So we plan to use this phone number to add some information where the usual residence of the population at the beginning, but we face the data privacy issue. So maybe that could be an example of the use of big data in this case. Thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you. Thank you, Asul. Could you please send us the few sentences that would, and then we will place them accordingly and show them here. Would that be okay?
Sure. Yeah, I will send.
Thank you very much. Any other comments on the paragraphs, the subsection, the last subsection on the big data, paragraphs 391 through 398? I see none. Very well. Thank you very much. Then we can conclude that we have finished with reviewing chapter number 3. And now we are turning our attention to transforming administrative data into census data, which is chapter number 4. And here I have two general comments from Poland. One is general comment, and the other is on the introductory subsection here. So the general comment reads, the chapter contains all the necessary information that should be included in. It presents the appropriate logical sequence of actions. It is complete in content and universal, so the recommendations contained therein can be used. I believe that this is actually the part of the lead discussants.
Yeah, exactly.
Point. Okay.
Let us tell us about it.
And then I will then actually
Sergey, I could hear you. You have microphone off now.
My apologies for both. I did have this indication that Poland had a comment here, and then actually this is the part of the presentation of the lead discussants. So let us turn the attention to chapter number 4. As we did with all the other chapters, we do have two lead discussants that are going to introduce us to chapter number 4. The first is Oman, and then followed by Poland. So Oman, would you please take the floor and run your presentation? Very well. Let's move to Poland.
Maybe, yes.
Let's move to Poland, and then we'll get back to Oman afterwards.
Okay.
Pavel, go ahead,
Morawski, thank you. Firstly, I want to thank you for invitation and send the draft handbook. Let me briefly discuss the content of chapter 4 with some comments. The chapter is written coherently and synthetically. The chronology of the description form as a logical war. It corresponded to the current state of knowledge in the field of transformation of administrative data into census data. Of course, the key issue is to create a statistical population register based on administrative data. Its greatest possible completeness define the quality of the census and definitely facilitates the acquisition of data during the census. Distinction is made here between base and supplementary registers, which is an increasingly used model that works well practice. It's not possible to create a complete statistical population register without a correct combination of administrative data, of course. Data linking elements are described in a clear and understandable way. The linking methods should be applicable in each of the countries working on the registers. Both the most optimal joining method, using a common unique identifier, and other methods such as a deterministic method and the probabilistic method are discussed. From the point of view of carrying out a census and housing, it is extremely important to link people with dwellings. Each person should be assigned at last one place of residence. The possibility of multiple addresses for one person was indicated as a significant problem. The key issue in the topic is the choice of the actual place of residence for this person, which is important at low levels of territorial aggregation. Yes. Therefore, the method of the so-called science of life. Thanks to this method, it is possible to update information about people and where they are, and to optimize the use of data. It's an effective method that has been proven in practice. The textbook presents an example of the Spanish padron system. It's used primarily to determine the actual place of residence. It uses many sources of administrative data, mainly on tax, social security, and labor market information. I will not go into detail about this method, as it is well described in the handbook. We can never be close to the possibility of acquiring new data, but we should always take care of their quality. Therefore, in the subchapter Research and Testing, the process of implementing new data sources is described, but with the necessary elements, such as checking the quality of the acquired data sources, the possibility of harmonization with already obtained data, and the technical and legal requirements that must be met in order to enable the use of new data sources. The activities described in Chapter 4 can be successfully implemented in countries that have high-quality administrative registers. Countries that are just creating good quality registers can use the solution developed as the goal they are pursuing. In the future, individual chapters could be expanded and detailed. For this purpose, we suggest creating separate publication in the form of the so-called guides in the terms of individual subsections, where the description would be more detailed, with examples of good practice and a description of the main problems that need to be solved. And that's all from my side. And Krzysztof?
Yeah, still Poland here. Really quick, let me tell you about Polish experience, because we added a Polish case study to the handbook. So we developed population register for National Census 2021 as a part of work on the Statistical Census database. The target population was made up of people living in Poland, permanent residents and arrivals from another places, including foreigners. How we select the data sources and what are our quality criteria. So there are two types of administrative register in Poland. We distinguish between core, base, and supplementary registers. Our base register is a PESEL dataset, belongs to Ministry of Digital Affairs. The selection of other registers was based on the knowledge of the infrastructure, information content, and based on the classification of quality parameters like timeliness, completeness. A very important point was to collect a unique ID. In Poland, the PESEL number was used to define the target population. This number is a permanent numeric symbol which uniquely identifies a natural person. It's also easy to switch to personal identification number. PESEL also contains coded information about date of birth, the gender identity of the person, and the gender identity of the person. This for the date of birth, sex, and also age variables are created from the PESEL. The next step in the construction of target population was to collect and merge all PESEL numbers from the selected administrative registers. After we do that, we compare the number to the population calculated using balance method. And we had almost 3 million people more, so we have overrepresentation error. These for several criteria and other registers have been applied to eliminate these who do not meet the definition of the target population. Multiple administrative data sources and algorithms were used for elimination these groups. So we have sign of life concept. This first group execute flag where the persons declared as a dead validate with register, person age 90 plus and probably dead validate with by algorithm, person residing outside the territory of Republic of Poland, also person residing and receiving benefits like a pension outside the Poland, person appearing in only one register, and the last one, children who do not fulfill the school obligation in Poland. Adding other variables, attaching in individual variables is associated with integration process and with the linkage method. For the statistical census database, a deterministic method was used. The main linkage key between the sources was a parcel number. In that way, the first name, second name, surname, and citizenship were joined. After that, we spent a lot of time to attaching variables with addresses to the target population. That's because we have so many sources and also a lot of types of address. A series of simulation and tests were carried out that's allowed to develop an optimal algorithm. Main assumption, data source, timeliness, type of address, residential, temporary registered, permanent register, and correspondence, internal level of cohesion of address. In that way, the population register in Poland is formed. All units have assigned characteristics and valid address. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Christoph. Thank you also for the contribution. I believe this is a really straightforward example how Poland established the base for then producing small area census statistics out of the core register and combining them with other registers as well. Again, thank you for both the example as a contribution and for all the other contributions that you are making for this handbook. Oman, is Oman online? It appears not. Very well. Let us then proceed in the interest of time, and then if we have Oman joining us later on, then we will certainly be more than happy to provide the time for their presentation and their thoughts about the general comments on chapter 4. Now I'm opening the floor or any other general overall comments on chapter 4. Is there anything there that shouldn't be there, or is it something that is missing, or any other general comment that you might have? So general comments, chapter 4. The floor is open. I see none, and then let us then proceed section by section. Here we will start with section number 1, which is introduction. And here we have paras 1 to 3. I do have a comment from Poland on paragraph 2, point number 1 on base registers. And the comment reads, also characterized by the highest quality, completeness, timeliness, and high coverage. The register used in aggregate should contain the full identifiable population, both of people and of dwellings and buildings. Thank you. Yes. Very well. This is the only written comment that I had on these 4 paras. Any other comment on paras 1, 2, 3? Let's move then to the creating a statistical population register. So this is para 4 to 9, and here I would have comments from Canada, Chile, and Singapore. So let me then address. In Canada, it is on 4.8, the second sentence. actually the last sentence, the last sentence comment is attached to the last sentence. Canada is not creating a statistical population register anymore. This reference should be removed. We are now investigating the creation of ad hoc person level files with the described steps. This is not an SPP given it is not maintained and evergreen. Very well. So we will then, of course, implement that. I would only appreciate a bit more elaboration on what are the ad hoc person level files, and perhaps we can expand just a bit on this piece. The comment from Chile is on paragraph 4. And it says a more explicit comment about the difference between statistical population register and base population register could be useful to the reader. Very well. We will then elaborate on this one. And I have a comment from Singapore. Sorry about that. Comment is on para 5, first sentence. And the comment reads, depending on the sources, availability of historical data may differ for different variable of interest. It will be useful to start with what is available while being aware of potential gaps and bridge the gaps for the specific population groups where necessary by exploring other specialized registers or targeted surveys. Thank you to all of the comments. All of them are right on the mark, so we will take them and incorporate in the handbook. Then I have Helge. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Paragraphs 4.5 and 4.7 are inconsistent, and I think the order should be changed and slightly rewritten. 4.5 says that it involves establishing a statistical population register, involves extensive investment, whereas 4.7 say that it is easily generated. So maybe 4.5 should say it may involve extensive investment, and it should come after 4.7, I think, something like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, this is really a good point. It might involve. Very well. And then your suggestion is that 5 goes after 7. Okay. Thank you. Any other comment on para 4 to 9? I see none, so we can move to the constructing integrated statistical registers for the purposes of census. This is section 4.3. The paras are running from 10 to 17. I do not have any written comments here. Jorge, please.
Thank you so much. I would like to go back maybe and have a comment related to the paragraph 4.9. So, and at the beginning of this paragraph, it said that something related of the quality of the specifically said, if the existing population register is relatively good in terms of coverage, maybe in my opinion, it is very advisable to specify what is good and what is not good. In order to standardize this kind of term of quality related to the quality or the to avoid the own interpretation by every NSO related to the quality of the population register, right? So maybe that is my comment related to the paragraph 4.9. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So the comment is about introducing some kind of measure what is actually good. Very well. Notes taken. We are back to paras 10 to 17. Very well. Then we are moving to the subsection 4311, linking data through a common identifier or alternative means. 18 to 24. We are moving to subsection 4312, which is on identification numbers. It runs from 25 to 29. We did discuss the identification number. I would say that the example of Poland is extremely important here as well. Any comments on this? We are moving to the next subsection, which is on linking data sets without a common ID. What happens if we do not have ID? How do we approach it? Paras 30 to 32. I have Antonio, please go ahead.
Sorry, I was a little late reacting to the previous one.
Okay.
This is a comment, and I don't know if it's on 28 or 29 actually. And it's about. I think it's better placed in 29. Even in the case that the ping is information free, it's random. There are cases, and I think it's worth mentioning. There are cases where the ping changes with the change of citizenship. This is our case, but I think it's also usual in other countries that people have a administrative ping, and it might be a random ping, but this ping may change because of getting the citizenship. In our case, around between 100,000 and 200,000 people gets Spanish citizenship every year. Thank you.
Yes, we will. Yep, thank you very much. We will add this part here. It is important point. Absolutely. Thank you. Hannes, please go ahead.
This is for paragraph 432. Might be worth adding another bullet point that one can also use a combined approach of first using deterministic linking as much as possible, and only then try to link all the records that are left over probabilistically.
Thank you very much. A very good point. Thank you. Yes, we will do that. Any other comments on paras 30 to 32? I'd see none. So we are now moving to the linking persons to dwellings. And here we have a comment from Singapore. And the comment is on para 35. The sentence that starts while adopting this definition. And the comment reads, for countries transiting from a traditional census to full register-based one, there could be breaks in data series in such cases where the administrative definition may not be the same as the statistical definition. Indeed, yes, that is a very, very valuable comment here. So we are going to include it. There any other comments on paras 33 to 37? We are now moving to the subsection 4.3.2, which is conflict, which is dealing with application in the statistical population registers. Two paras here, 38 and 39. Thank you. We are moving to the subsection conflict resolution, and it runs from paragraph 40 to paragraph 43. Here I have a comment from Poland, which is on the paragraph 440, and it refers to the sentence after the parenthesis. Then the NSO may need to decide at which single address the records should refer. And in the comment reads, in Poland, the address selection algorithm is characterized by high complexity based on the order of choice of addresses from individual sources. The main assumptions of the algorithm are data source timeliness, so how up-to-date the information is, type of address, residential, temporary registered, permanently registered correspondence, And the third is internal level of cohesion of address variables. Thank you very much. So we will add this text to the paragraphs 440. Jorge, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Again, my comment, sorry, but it is related with the paragraph. Let me see the paragraph 438 and 439, but specifically when we're talking about to remove or eliminate the duplication, right, in the statistical population register. So maybe it is very important to consider to maintain a record or what register we are eliminating or we are removing from in the statistical population register in order to maintain the traceability of what move or what elimination we are doing as responsible of this kind of register. I don't know if it is possible to consider specifically the recommendation to have this record like a backup or for every backup or log, right, of every edition in the population register. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is on the application, and actually the comment is related to maintaining the log, so that to make sure that those applications have been recorded and then can be checked later on. Thank you. So it is noted, of course, and then we have we are back to paras 40 to 43. Any comments there? Okay, we are moving to the section on science of life methodology. And here I do have a comment from Singapore in writing. So the comment is on paragraph 48. Singapore has a similar paragraph 448, and then the sentence is actually the last sentence. Singapore has a similar no interaction list for persons with no interactions with the administration from the list. We further supplement with targeted survey for selected population segments to update, remove records. Thank you. So we will add this as another example coming from the country, and then comment on the paragraph 50. Last sentence that reads, however, identifying events that are systematically missed data where no comparison is available remains challenging. And the comment reads, may want to include examples to illustrate. Yes, thank you. We will do that. Thank you very much. That was the written comments. Now, any other comments on paras 44 to 50? Antonio, please.
Yeah, thank you. Very quickly, the method that is described in box B is the method that we follow like 2 or 3 years ago in the rehearsals and the tests for the 2021 census. The definitive method is slightly different, so we can send a new version for box B. Well, I actually sent, but I can send it again more detailed. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you. Thank you, Antonio. Much appreciated. Definitely. The more national examples we have, the richer the reading will be. Absolutely. So thank you very much for that. Any other comments on 44 to 50? We are now moving to the subsection 435, which is on editing and imputation. We have 11 paras here, which runs from 51 to 61. And I have a comment here from Canada, which is on 57, the paragraph 57, and it is on content errors, which is in the second part of the list. And it is attached to the content errors, and the Comment reads, another source of error is proxy respondent, one member of the household responding for the other ones. Yes, thank you very much. Note taken. I also do have a comment from Singapore. And it is on 58, the second sentence. And the comment reads, it will be useful to also convey such systematic errors to the source registers to review, for review. So rectification can be made where possible and subsequent updates would be better quality. Thank you very much, Singapore. Yes, very well. And this is all I have now, opening the floor for any other comments on paragraphs 51 to 61. Please go ahead. I see none. Very well. So let us move now to the last item in chapter 4, which is on research and testing. And this is a section that runs from para 62 to paragraph 68. I do not have any written comments for this part. So please go ahead if you have any observations related to these paragraphs, 62 to 68. Very well, thank you very much. I can then conclude that we have accomplished the review of paragraph 4, which was all on actual technical issues related to the establishment of the Statistical Population Register, which is supposed to be a backbone of the national statistical systems in the post-2020 round of censuses. We are now, thank you very much. As I said, all the comments are extremely appreciated, and they are going to be incorporated as we move on towards the finalization of this draft. We are now turning our attention to the chapter 5, which is certainly of particular importance on the quality assessment. And here for the quality assessment, we have our lead discussants, which are Israel and Norway. So can we start with Israel, please?
Good morning. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay. But now I can't.
Okay.
Just a moment. Okay. Good morning. We undertook shortly presenting Chapter 5, which discussed quality assessment in an administrative census. The subject is wide and, of course, touches the whole field of administrative file-based statistics and not only census. I hope we can meet the challenge of giving the gist of it in 5 minutes. Let's start. When addressing the quality assessment activities in an administrative census, the guide suggests to refer to the classic measure of quality assessment, which are relevance, accuracy and reliability, timeliness and punctuality, coherence and compatibility, accessibility and interpretability. All of these refer to 4 stages of statistical production. Source quality assessment, input quality assessment, process, and output.
Yeah, let me just, sorry to interrupt you, apologies. Yes. Are you running your slides? We are still only on the cover slide.
No, I'm running it.
well, they don't show. What we see here is just the first slide, the cover slide.
Okay, I'll do it again. Do you see the metrics now?
Yes, we see now I think this is slide number 2.
Okay, I hope you. So I'll start again. When we are
excuse me, you should press the curtain down to the right to see each slide.
Me?
The curtain is down to the right to see the show. You agree, Sergeant? You see the point?
I think so, yeah.
Now can you see it running?
We see slide number 3 now.
No.
Hiro, can we make our Israeli colleague Yael presenter here? Perhaps that is what causes the problem.
No, she can't. She's a presenter, so
she is a presenter, so that's not a problem.
Share
Okay.
screen.
Okay, thank you.
What do you see now?
We see the first slide.
I don't know why it is like
So
this.
perhaps if you run the slideshow, maybe that would help.
Just יובל, אתה... תסתכל. זאת המצגת. ו? אבל הם לא רואים את המצגת. לך לזה. Is it good now?
יופי.
יופי?
Perfectly.
Okay, so I'll start again. When addressing the quality assessment activities in an administrative census, the guide suggests to refer to the classic measures of quality assessment, which are relevance, accuracy and reliability, timeliness and punctuality, coherence and comparability, accessibility, and interoperability. With relation to 4 stages of statistical production, as it's shown here. The first one, the source quality assessment, describes the stage of locating administrative data sources for use in the census and communicating with the data supplier in order to ensure that the source matches our need. In the second stage, it refers to the stage where we already have the file or database from the administrative data supplier and the related quality assessment activities. The process quality assessment refers to the stage where the data held in, the third stage is as data held in any administrative source was collected for statistical purposes. This stage refers to all of the activities performed in order to transform the data to match the goals of the census, record linkage, editing, imputation, etc. And the last stage of producing the statistical products is the stage where we generate and publish the census products. The quality assessment activities in this stage are very similar, whether this is an administrative census, traditional, or another census. The final activity of the quality assessment process should be, just a moment, should be to publish a report documenting the results of quality assessment and assurance alongside the census product and metadata for the users. Let's the guide describe the rationality and the activities and measures of quality assurance in each of the stages that is shown here in the matrix. To make it short, we choose to elaborate on few of them. The first one is how the guide suggests to measure quality regarding timeliness and punctuality. No, I wanted coherence and coherence and comparability. We want to assess the degree to which the administrative source can be successfully linked and combined with other data sources for use in the census. The guide suggests key measures like the definition and the coverage of the unit that are relevant to the census, the concept definition and classification associated with the variable in the administrative source that are relevant to the census, and etc. Another example of quality assurance in the second stage that we will refer is the accuracy and the reliability. We want to assess two types of errors, representative errors and measurement error. Here are some of the examples and tools to be used to assess this quality. Another example is in this process quality assessment. As mentioned, in order to get picture, the NSOs combines information, links record, edit, impute, select and value from selection of possible values, and execute many other decisions. A key result of linking record is the coverage obtained and can be assessed using a comparison to external source, estimates and or a sign of life, and evaluation surveys. Regarding process quality, output quality, when assessing quality in census, quality dimensions are very similar to the census method. As I said in the beginning, the only measure that is different is the timeliness measures that are unique to administrative census. If we want to refer to the Israeli aspect, Israel is in transitioning into administrative census. In April 22, we'll launch the integrated census combining administrative source and the sample survey. This survey will create updated estimate as well as true values and estimates for the evaluation of the assessment and the assessment of the administrative census. What enabled us to facilitate the communication with administrative data providers was the establishment of the National Statistics System, NSS, which aims to institutionalize the sharing of the information, knowledge, and statistical resources between state institutions. The system established and regulated many connections between the CBS and the managers of the relevant information sources. Thus, making it easier for us to receive files and shed the light on the content of the administrative source. All of these have allowed us to develop better models. And at last, a comment or possible addition to this guide, we suggest it will be best to create a checklist of tests or questions to go through every stage, including proper or problematic values ranges, such as as much as possible for every coordinate of the quality assessment map that we show in the beginning. Thank you, and I hope that you understand my English.
You are muted, Surgeon. Surgeon, yeah.
Thank you very much, Yael. Your English is perfect, and so are your overview of the chapter. We are taking note of your suggestion to introduce a checklist there that would then go step by step and then provide a measure of the quality assessment. Let us move to Norway, please. Helge, go ahead.
Thank you. Let me see. Can you see it?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for asking me to review Chapter 5 on quality assessment. This is, of course, a very important part of the development of a register-based census. The main problem is that most of the quality issues are the responsibility of the data holder or the administrative register holder. So it's limited what the statistical office can do. I will discuss a few aspects, and as the previous speaker shows, that these are the four sections of the chapter, and the previous speaker also mentioned the quality assessment and the stages of assessment. I will not, to save time, I will not go into this. The chapter is well written and clear, but I wish it was more operational in a way, more examples, more on methods. Most of it is quite general, and for people or offices starting the work on this, it's a long list, but perhaps more operational. Okay. Now, a few comments on accuracy and reliability, where you recommend that you should run frequency distributions and cross tables to identify missing values, out of range values, implausible values, unexpected frequencies. So to detect microdata that are wrong or usually. But in Norway, we have used an additional approach, and that is to analyze longitudinal data. We have so long time series of on vital events and other events that we have established individual life cycle histories on, for example, marriages and divorces. I did that many years ago, and I found that to check the consistency between a marriage certificate was, for example, was a person who was married, who got married, was that person already married, or the person who is married now should not be married? Of course, it would be an illegal marriage. And also checked the events data with the census data. A person listed as marriage in the census could be listed differently in the event histories. The same for migrations, both internal and internal migrations. A colleague established longitudinal lives migration histories for every individual in Norway who has ever lived in Norway. I got to check it, and I found that of the 5 times I've lived in other countries, one of the returns from abroad was not included in my migration history. So that is a sign of a pretty good quality, but not perfect. A third one is making longitudinal birth histories for women, but can also be made for men, and you can check the consistency of births, whether birth number 2 always follows birth number 1. This is also very useful for statistical purposes to create the census variable children ever born can be used for this. So longitudinal data, we can do this because we have long histories with ID numbers on all events. I will finally, at the end, show you how the transition to register-based census in Norway and how the data quality was gradually improved. The last fully traditional census was conducted in 1960. In 1964, we established a population register and excuse me, and introduced unique ID numbers based on the 1960 census. The next census in 1970 was mostly traditional, but the census was used to check some variables, including marital status, excuse me, and to establish a statistical register of education. It was the last time the census was conducted with enumerators. The 1980 census was combined, and the questionnaires were pre-printed with name and date of birth of the respondents and sent by mail to all households who returned them by mail. And all demographic variables were collected from this Central Population Register. In 1990, most administrative data on demography, education, income, and geography were collected from administrative registers, and there was field collection of data on labor, households, and housing, only sample enumerated. I should add that for the census up to now, Statistics Norway was the holder of both the statistical and the administrative registers, so there was no conflict, excuse me, directly conflict. The 2001 census was mostly, almost totally register-based. All data on persons were taken from registers. This census was used to establish dwelling register and to establish a links between persons and dwellings, so that every person got a dwelling number, which was used to make household statistics. 2011 census was the first fully based register-based census. What about future censuses? There will be no more future censuses because now all important statistics, including census statistics, are produced annually, and the basic principle has been that when the quality of a data from a register is good enough, it's included in the annual statistics, and gradually, and then in the decennial census. The goal in Norway has not been the main goal in Norway has been to create a register-based statistical system, and the register-based census is an outcome of that rather than the opposite. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helge. Thank you for this presentation. We are noting your comments regarding more examples, that we have a more operational approach in this chapter, that we should expand it by the use of longitudinal data stories, and then we would appreciate very much that you sent us a box with some examples on those longitudinal data that you mentioned, like divorces and births. That would be appreciated. Also, please let me also outline that all the presentations that you have so kindly submitted will be posted on the website of the meeting. So if you have any kind of perhaps reservations, then let us know accordingly so that we can accommodate whatever is your decision. Now I am opening the floor. Thank you very much. We have let me just emphasize some of the points that were made by our lead discussants. The need for a checklist there to be included, more examples in the chapter, more operational in that, and some examples of the additional longitudinal data analysis that may prove to be critical in assessing the quality of the statistical population register. Jorge, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Serjan. I would like to ask something. Is it possible that you could send to us all the presentation that our colleagues have made to introduce every chapter of this handbook? Because moreover, the properly matter of the technical issues for some countries like us is very important to know the experience of every country, right? That every colleague has mentioned, right, as an introduction of every technical thematic, right? So it's just a question. Thank you, Serjan.
Jorge, yes, as I mentioned, with the permission, of course, of our lead discussants, we are going to post all of the presentations on the meeting's website. The meeting website, of course, has the list of participants and the draft handbook, and we will attach the presentation, so everything will be offered on our website. So thank you very much. Any other general comment on the chapter on quality assessment? Let us then tackle the section 5.1, which is again the introduction. Here for the first, it runs from paragraph number 1 until paragraph number 6. I do have a comment from Canada, which is on the third sentence of paragraph 1. The quality of the census data should at least be as good as that achieved in previous censuses, and the comment reads, this is difficult to achieve. Trade-offs with quality dimensions will inevitably happen. Should probably use overall quality, which opens the door to some quality variations. Very well. Any other comments on para 1 to 6? The section 5.2 has only one introductory para number 7. I believe that we have discussed this already, and then we move to subsection 5 to 1, which is paragraphs 8 to 14, which is on relevance. Any comments on relevance as a quality dimension? Then we move on to 5.2, accuracy and reliability, that runs from paragraph 5.15 to 5.18.
You are muted. Yeah. Serjan, you are muted.
Your microphone is off.
Oops. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. It's just that too many papers that are obstructing the mouse. I am at timeliness and punctuality, paras 19 to 21. Any comments on this one? There is a comment from Canada on paragraph 19, but I believe it was Canada that it was withdrawn. Am I correct, Canada?
Hello. Actually, the first one was not. I think in this paragraph you are explaining that timeliness may mean two different things. So the suggestion was maybe we should then define them differently.
So first, there is the age of the information in the register at the time of a data extraction, or compared to a determined reference day. Second, there is an amount of time between the reference date, census day, and when the NSO publishes the data. These are different concepts with different causes, so should be differentiated using separate definitions. Very well. Good. Thank you. Ian, please.
Yes, thanks, Surgeon. I'm trying not to interrupt every time, but I just wanted to respond to Canada's comment. This is a point that is not a characteristic of the register. This is a characteristic of the efficiency of the NSO. Delays between getting the data and publishing the data occur whatever method of data collection it is. It isn't necessarily a measure of the quality of the register.
Thank you. Thank you. For sure, when we are moving towards the finalization of the draft, we will consult with colleagues that provide comments and ask for further follow-up so that we are sure that all of those concerns are properly and adequately addressed. But we are noting them now here, so that is the one of the purposes of this meeting. Moving to subsection on coherence and comparability, which actually has is covered by paragraphs 22 to 24. And then moving to accessibility and interpretability 25 to 27. Section 5.3 is on stages of quality assessment, also presented by our lead discussant, Helge.
Sorry, I was a bit too late. I have a comment on 525. The word accessibility can mean different things, and it should be clear that it does not mean that users are able to access microdata, census microdata. They will have access to the information, including statistical tables produced by the census. But most users, except perhaps for researchers and statisticians, do not have access to the microdata. So if you could please make that clear in the text here and elsewhere.
Certainly, certainly. We'll do that. Section 5.3 is on stages of quality assessment, runs paragraph 28 to 31. Now, subsection 5.3.1, which is on source quality. And here we have a comment from Canada on actually 5.3.5. So no comments there. And then paragraphs 31 to 35, which is a section of source quality. And we have a comment from Canada on 35, the penultimate sentence. It reads, the quantitative dimension of accuracy refers principally to the data items themselves, rather than to the quality of the register as a source. And the comment reads, I disagree. The quality of the admin register as a source is quantitatively measured by the aggregate quality of the data item it contains. Canada, could you please elaborate a bit?
On this one, I will send you written. Maybe I'm not exactly sure myself. This does not come from me, so I will provide you with some detail afterwards. I apologize for that.
Thank you, Sylvain. Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other comments on 31 to 35? No, we are moving then to relevance, and here we have paragraphs 36 to 41. 36 to 41, and this is all representative errors and measurement errors. And here we have Canada comment on paragraph 38, and it is the first sentence that is commented here. This process will ensure validity, but it is not the concept of relevance as defined above. Relevance is defined as the degree to which statistical outputs meet current and potential user need. To assess relevance, not set. Okay, okay. Point taken. Thank you very much. Any other comments on 36 to 41? Helge?
Paragraph 539, second bullet point. I don't think that undocumented migrants are part of the census target population. For a register-based census, for a traditional census, they may also not part of the target population if it's the jure census, but if it's a de facto, they may be. So if the terminology could be improved, I think. Yeah.
Well, even if it is the Euro census, which means the usual resident census, you will capture the undocumented migrants if they have had a place of residence in the country for a certain period of time. You will not catch them in the register, of course. They will not be there. But in the de jure census, you will capture them if they reside in the country. So,
with some undercoverage, of course.
Yes, certainly.
Okay,
certainly, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, any other comments on 36 to 41, please? No, we'll move now to 5312, which is timeliness and punctuality. And here we have paragraphs 42 to 46. And I have a comment from Singapore, which is on paragraph 544. Yes, 544. Actually, I missed this one from the, it is now 42 to 46, and this is 44 bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the bullet point reads whether or not data formats and structures and the method of delivery meet with the NSO requirements that could otherwise impact on the data supplier's timeline. And the comment is that could be an impact on the NSO timeline as well. Yes, of course. Thank you. So take a note of the comment. Any other comments, Helge, on 42 to 46?
I think you should be stressed that emphasize that regarding the time lag here, that the date of the actual event and the date of registering the event should always be recorded, and that the NSO can encourage the register holder to do that always.
Thank you. Yes, a very important point, date of occurrence and the date of registration. Thank you. So we'll take note of this and put it here. Any other comment on 42 to 46? Thank you. We are now moving to 5313, which is on coherence and comparability. And here we have a comment, and this is from 547 to 551. And here I have a comment from Canada, which is on 549. And it is in reference to the non-conformity. The comment says, can you specify non-conformity with what? Or replace with non-coherence and comparability? Very well. We will address this. Comment is straightforward. Any other comment on 47 to 51? No, thank you. We are moving to accessibility and interpretability, and this is 552 to 561. subsection on institutional environment, 5315. It runs from para 62 to para 70. Very well. Then we are moving to the section, which is 532, and it actually runs from only one paragraph, which is para 71. On input quality. Any comment on 71? Then we are moving to the subsection on accuracy and reliability, which runs from paragraph 72 to 83. Yes, Yael, please go ahead.
I just wanted to add that beside basic indicator to measure the completeness of the characteristic variable can be with comparison in the aggregate level, but also in the individual level. And this chapter only deals with aggregate level.
Okay. Note taken. Thank you. Any other comments on 72 to 83? Then we are moving to timeliness and punctuality, which is 84 to 88. Okay, then we are moving to the subsection, which is 5331, accuracy and record linkage. This runs from paragraphs 89 to 98. And here I have a comment from Canada, which is on paragraph 89. And this is actually on the end of the first sentence. And it says the accuracy of the input data. The degree of likability will affect the accuracy of the input data. And the comment reads, it affects the over or under coverage of the data, but not its accuracy. Very well. We will discuss this with Sylvain or his colleagues just to have it clarified as we are moving on. Yael, your hand is still up. Is it the old hand?
About this comment, I thought that the word is linkability, not likability. So, and this will
That's correct.
Okay. And
That's correct.
I have another comment about the timeliness. The timeliness, it is about the last paragraph. Timeliness can be measured by the value within the file. For example, if the correct population register file is for particular date, it should include children born up to the date. If missing, this is an indication of a problem.
So you are actually indicating that the timeliness can be assessed at the level of the microdata itself.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. We are still on paragraphs 89 to 98. Any comment there? If not, we are moving to the subsection. Yael, your hand is up, please.
My mistake.
Okay, thank you. Then we are moving to 5332, which is assessing over coverage in statistical population register by using science of life. We have discussed here a bit already. We do have their block. So this is para 99 to 101. Any comments on these three paragraphs? Helge, you have the floor.
On paragraph 5103, for a fully register-based census, I don't think it's really feasible to conduct a post-enumeration survey. Of course, it's feasible, but moreover, the methodology would be so different, and it would affect the answers also. So I don't think it's really would be a good practice to conduct a field-based post-enumeration survey to compare with register data, but because there will be too many differences due to the difference in methodology. Thank you.
Thank you. We are taking note of this, and then we will put again a small disclaimer here that it is not always feasible, but we do believe that you can. And then, as you actually mentioned yourself, there are different stages in the transition from the traditional census to the register-based censuses, and then the post-enumeration survey are certainly part of this whole process. So, taking note of this, thank you very much. That was on para 103 here. So, any comments, Antonio, on 99 and then until 105?
It's again. I think I'm reinforcing what Helge said before, and it's about. I miss a kind of remark about the post-enumeration service. Perhaps in 105, what I said is arguable whether the post-enumeration survey can correct the coverage problems of a register-based census, given that the survey also faces non-response problems. In fact, we have to remember that one of the drivers of the transition towards administrative registers is precisely the non-response and the bias in the service in traditional censuses. So I miss something about the skepticism around the post-enumeration service. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will put it there. Rest assured, it will be there. Yes, thank you. Any other comments from 99 to 105? So definitely we will put a comment on 103 that this is really a kind of the approach that has to take into consideration whether this is really feasible in terms of the national circumstances. Thank you very much. We are moving now to 5335, which is actually, sorry, 334, which is methods for deciding on variables reported in different sources and conflict resolutions. These are two paragraphs here, 106 and 107. Very well. The next subsection is 5335, assessing the quality of the editing and imputation process. So this one runs from paragraph 108 to paragraph 112. And here I have a comment from Canada. It is on paragraph 112. And it is under item A. This is the number of detected errors divided by total errors. How are the total errors known if only the detected errors are detected? Very well. Thank you. Thank you for pointing this out. We will elaborate on this and we will think about it first. Thank you. Thank you for this. Any other comments on 108 to 112? No? Then we will move to 534, which is a section on the output quality. And here we have 3 paras. On 534, para 113 to 115. Any comments on these 3 paragraphs? Output quality. Relevance, subsection 5341. It runs on 2 paragraphs, 16 and 17. Accuracy, 3 paragraphs, 19 to 22. Again, timeliness and punctuality in this context is covered in para 123 to 126. Coherence and comparability in this context, the paras 127 and 128. And then we have accessibility and clarity 129 and 130. And here we have a comment from Canada. It is at the title of the subsection, accessibility and clarity. So this refers to clarity. And the suggestion is to use the term interpretability. Very well. Any other comments on these 2 paras, 29 and 30? The last section here is on reporting quality, covers paras 131 to 133. Any comments on this one? No. Thank you very much. So we can conclude that we have actually reviewed the paragraph number 5, sorry, on the quality assessment, and that this is something that I believe will need to be again revisited along the lines of the comments, both in written and in oral form, that have been submitted by the meeting. Again, thank you very much. We have only chapter 6 to go, and that one is really just a few pages. So let us tackle this and then bring this meeting to its conclusion much earlier than we thought. But I hope that you really do not mind that we started a bit earlier, just to make sure that we will be really on time. So for the conclusion recommendations, there is no lead discussant, and I'm not, or us, we are not going to introduce it. I believe it is really self-explanatory, and there are no needs to provide any kind of introduction here. I'm just opening a discussion on paras 1 to 10. Any comments on any of these summary conclusions? Gloria, and then Helge.
Thank you, Sergeant. Just a general comment on when we talk about the impact of COVID-19 on censuses and this leading to so excuse me, please. When we talk about the impact of COVID-19 on censuses and particularly that leading to delays or postponements and the outlook of countries towards registers as a possible easier approach, I'm wondering whether in the same way then we should be proposing that there needs to be some form of revision of the way registration systems are run, because registration systems at the same time are also affected, especially in developing countries where people also physically have to present. So it's like there's an underlying assumption that registers have not been impacted. So I think we need to add something towards the need to, make the registration systems, I don't know whether the word is digital or electronic or, moving towards an electronic format of registration, so that then the registers are not as affected as much, and then they can be a reliable source. I don't know whether my point is clear. I'm just trying to say that if censuses have been affected, and we are seeing the potential that registers can provide, looking at the developing country context, we also need to be conscious that for registrations to happen, people need to go to the registration sites in many countries. And so if we are to rely on registers within the current context, then we also need registers to be transformed in a way that they are, registrations are electronic, so that the data is available. Otherwise, the impact of COVID on registration systems in the manner that they are in most developing countries today would be similar to the census context.
Thank you, Gloria. Your comment is well taken. Definitely, yes. The one of the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic has been on the modernization of registers. The only question is whether this is the appropriate place to address this issue. We are addressing this issue in other documents that are of more immediate nature. A handbook like this is appearing only once in quite some time, and it is not likely to be revised in the next 10 years or so. So putting this kind of point, which is, as I said, quite on the mark here, I'm not sure would actually add to the reader 5 years down the timeline would add some more information to them. But we are, and that will be in the paper that is going to be submitted to the Statistical Commission in March. We are saying that this is a must. You need to digitize, you need to modernize the registration system, especially because of COVID-19. So the point is addressed elsewhere. Thank you. Helge?
Thank you. I have two comments. One is on terminology regarding subsection 6.5 and 6.14, where it says in 6.5 it talks about the primary source. But I don't think that an administrative register should be called a primary source. Say for a population register, it's a civil register could perhaps be called the primary source, or the data coming from civil registration offices. So try to be clear about the terminology, because there are sources at different levels, and all administrative registers have to get their data from somewhere. So these are not primary or raw data. I think also the vocabulary at the end could take this into account, and perhaps define raw data differently and include primary data also as a term. My second comment, which is on 6.16, is also applies to the previous chapter 5, and it is it should be, I think it should be included in the recommendations that countries should try to publish annual statistics as soon as possible, because that is really a test of the quality. The most basic register is, of course, the population register. And as soon as possible, countries should start to publish population statistics based on the population register. It's not the vital statistics that is the challenge, it's the stock of the population, the stock statistics, the population by size and composition and region. And this is a good test of the quality. Thank you.
Thank you, Helge. Yes, we will put the annual production of annual statistics as one of the measures of the quality of data. But then your point about 6.5 and the primary source versus the raw data, I did not really catch it completely. Could you please make it again?
I'm sorry. What is an administrative register? Is it appropriate to call it for a primary source? Because I think the primary source for population register is civil registration data. That is more primary, whereas on each register, education, health, labor, they all collect the data from somewhere. And so these data could be called primary or raw. But so a discussion of the terminology here, which is not clear. I get confused at times.
Okay. Okay, now I got it. Thank you very much. Note taken. Thank you. Any other comments on 1 to 10 para or 11 to 19, the whole thing? No, I see none. So thank you very much. I think that with these comments, we are concluding the review of chapter number 6 on conclusions and recommendations. What is left here is Annex A, the definitions and terms of concepts. I would appreciate very much if you go through this very carefully and you have any kind of comments here, submit it to us in writing, and then we will, of course, incorporate it accordingly. And the Annex B are only the references. That is just the regular part of any of our handbooks. So I don't think, if you have any comments on that one, of course, you are more than welcome to provide it. So with this, dear colleagues, I would like really to express our deep appreciation for your contributions and the participations. Ian, yes, I'm noticing your hand.
Okay.
And before I close this meeting, I certainly would like to outline that this kind of meetings is always something that we are looking forward to, especially nowadays when we have this situation that we cannot meet in person and we cannot really have the kind of conversation that is not encumbered by technological mishaps as we had it here. So before I provide the map of how we intend to proceed with the finalization of this handbook, Ian, please go ahead.
Thank you, Surgeon. And as someone that had a small hand in preparing this document, I would like to thank everybody that has clearly taken the trouble to read this. And from the comments that have been received, it is very satisfying that you've taken the trouble and the interest to do this. One of the things that I think has brought out is that countries clearly comment from their own perspective, and quite rightly so. And particularly countries like Singapore and Canada, who've made extensive comments, point out the issues, and Spain and Chile and all the others have pointed out issues where their own country does maybe something slightly different or has an extra perspective. This is just the sort of information I think we want. And I think what is helpful is that where you want to make a particular point that relates to your own country, and you've not already done so, please do so in a written comment, because I think as many experiences that we can reflect in the text, I think will be helpful. I think Sergio may have said at the start, there is no one handbook that can answer all questions. This is a new area, and countries will apply a process to doing a register-based census in their own way. But I think the more lessons that can be learned from the experience of other countries, even though they may not be typical, is valuable to know. So I've learned an awful lot, and it would be helpful, I think, if particular instances where you either disagree or you have a different perspective on what's going on could be recorded. So I've learned a lot for the last 3 days. So thank you very much. I've enjoyed listening to everybody.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you very much. And let me just now provide the kind of the map of how we intend to proceed. First and foremost, of course, we are going to go through all the comments very carefully. And should we have a need for further clarification regarding your specific comments, we will get back to you and ask you for further discussion so that we reflect the comments as accurately as possible. Number two, we do already have, and we appreciate the examples from Poland and the examples from Spain that are already incorporated in the handbook. please look at the handbook as it is right now and provide us with the national examples, like what is going on in Chile right now in terms of establishing the registers, or what is going on in Indonesia. And all of these that were mentioned here in at the meeting itself are very valuable contributions that should be reflected in this handbook, so that once the reader goes through it, it acquires knowledge of what is going on in elsewhere, and perhaps reach out to the statistical authorities to follow up on the work that is being done. So please take a good look and provide us national examples for anywhere that you would like where you feel it would fit the best, and then we will be sure to incorporate it, of course. Then the third step here would be, once we have all pieces together, of course, this handbook does not have cross references. And if you go to other materials done by the United Nations, by us, you will see that we are relying very much on cross referencing within the same handbook. That makes it more convenient for the reader to read only parts of the one chapter, and does not have to read all the chapters. So this cross referencing is yet to be done. And once we have all of these pieces, we will send all of these back to you for one last readout. And that will be the opportunity for you to then raise another set of discussion as necessary if you find it appropriate. So the first step, we'll get back to you if we need some clarification on a specific comment. Number two, please provide national examples for any of the components here, whether it is quality assessment, whether it is moving towards the administrative-based censuses, or building the register, or having problems with the matching of the records from different sources, and so on and so forth. Whatever you believe would be useful for the reader, please provide us. And then once we finalize the whole thing, we will then ask you for the final review and the final sign off rather. Again, we intend to submit this as a background document to the Commission. The Commission will have its session at the beginning of March next year. So this is pretty much our timeline that we are having in front of us. With this, I would like to open the floor for any final comments that you might have, any final suggestion, conclusion, objection, if you wish. Helge, then Jorge.
What is the deadline for further comments?
For further comments, additional to the one that you already made.
Yeah.
Additional
yes.
one. So let's say that we would like to receive them within the next 10 days, because we are going to start to work on this immediately next week. Would that be acceptable? Yeah. Jorge?
Well, it's Christmas, of course, but
well, yes, we understand that, but of course we will be flexible. I mean, but to have a deadline always helps, even if you have to move it later on. But you know, thank you, Helge. Jorge, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Serjan. We just want to thank you to you and all the team behind this hard work, right, in order to think and elaborate this first version of this handbook, because maybe it's going to be the first basis in order to structure how to move forward from the traditional censuses to the censuses with administrative data. So we would like again to thank you for considering us in this review, and we are going to be very available to discuss any thematic related to this, because in our country reality, this is a step that or road that we must to transit in order to strengthen our official statistic and specifically our censuses. So thank you so much, and also we thank to our colleagues, because in this three session we could saw all the experience behind every colleague and country. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Eileen, please.
I want to, adding something to what Jorge already said, thank you very much for the effort. When you read the handbook, it is completely visible, all the effort and commitment that all of you have been putting in there. And also with the project that we are working on, we can completely see how committed and eager you are to help all the countries in the region, in the case of Chile and everywhere. Also, thanks to our colleagues, and we want to congratulate the whole effort that this handbook means. As well, I wanted to ask, Helge was talking about the additional comments about the already sent one, but about the case of each country, do we have a deadline for that background?
We certainly would like to have this comes beginning of the January. So depending, we know that there is the end of the year. We are fully aware of the Christmas and holiday season. So we are not pushing very hard. We know that the people need some rest, especially after a year like this one. So take your time to do it really at your own pace. But let's say that this is by mid-January. We really would need to have it in our hands so that we can process further on.
Perfect, Sergeant. And also, I was suggesting on the chat that maybe the attendants could turn on their camera in order to have like a memory of this, all of these days of review. Just as a suggestion.
Certainly, definitely. I just wanted, before doing that, I just wanted to then again introduce my team. I mean, the team is really big, but the people that were directly involved with this work are Ian White, of course, who worked as a consultant. Ian, Miriam Dimitri, who is the interregional advisor for population housing censuses here in Statistics Division, and Seifet Adese, who is the focal point for the population housing censuses in my section. I have also a number of colleagues, another 10 colleagues from the section that supported this work in very different ways. Then please turn all of the cameras. This is a really good idea, and we'll try to take a snapshot of it and have this as a kind of on the record for this very, I would say, successful meeting, and the discussion that was indeed very, very useful. And we certainly respect all your time that you've set aside, especially New Zealand and Hannes and our colleagues from Indonesia and Malaysia. We know that it is not easy to really overcome these time differences. Much appreciated. Thank you all very much. All the best. Do not hesitate contacting any of us for any kind of support that you might have. Thank you and goodbye. Goodbye.
Thank you so much. Goodbye. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a nice Christmas and New Year.
Thank you so
holidays.
much.
Thank you. Bye.